Charles Dickens and his Bleak House.
Bleak House.
You're interested in learning more about the novel and its context?
Yeah.
We'll be looking at a 1914 edition you submitted with illustrations by Fizz, along with some preface materials.
Okay.
Now, before we get lost in the London fog, I think it's fascinating that Bleak House was originally published in 20 monthly parts between 1852 and 1853.
Wow.
Can you imagine waiting month after month for the next installment?
Oh, yeah. Dickens was a master of serialized fiction.
Oh, absolutely.
Keeping his Victorian audience on the edge of their seats.
Yeah.
And he used that format to engage with social issues.
Right.
In a way that newspapers simply couldn't.
And he doesn't waste any time grabbing your attention.
No.
That opening scene drops us right into the heart of London.
Yeah.
But it's not the London we might picture.
Right.
It's shrouded in this thick, yellow fog.
Oh.
A fog that seems to seep into every corner of the city.
Yeah.
And to the very heart of the legal system.
Yeah. What's fascinating here is that the fog isn't just atmosphere.
Okay.
It acts as a symbol for the confusion and obscurity surrounding the Court of Chancery.
Okay.
A court Dickens clearly wanted to critique.
Yeah.
The court, as Dickens depicts it, is as impenetrable and disorienting as the London fog itself.
So let's unpack this Court of Chancery a bit.
Sure.
For our listener, can you explain what this court was?
Yeah. So
Why Dickens had it out for them?
the Court of Chancery in 19th century England was notorious for its complexity and glacial pace.
Right.
Dickens, who had personal experience with the court, wanted to expose how this system designed for fairness actually ruined lives.
Yeah.
The preface you provided, with its real-life examples of endless litigation like the case of Gridley, really underscores Dickens' point.
This Gridley, his case dragged on for years, right?
Yeah.
Leaving him financially and emotionally broken.
Right.
It's like a real-life version of the fictional Jarndyce and Jarndyce case, which Dickens describes as this scarecrow of a suit.
Yeah.
So complicated that no man alive knows what it means.
It hit the nail on the head. It's through this fictional lawsuit, Jarndyce and Jarndyce, that Dickens really drives home the human cost of this system. Lives wasted, fortunes squandered, and hope seemingly vanished in this legal fog.
Oh, yeah.
You can practically feel the despair emanating from the pages.
So it sounds like Dickens was doing more than just complaining about a slow court system.
Yeah.
What do you think he was hoping to achieve with Bleak House? Was he actually trying to spark change?
He absolutely was.
Okay.
Dickens was a writer deeply concerned with social reform. Bleak House is in many ways a call for change.
Yeah.
Shining a light on the dark underbelly of Victorian society.
Right.
He wanted to expose the flaws of the legal system.
Yeah.
And perhaps, through his writing, push for its reform.
And he does this by populating Bleak House with an incredible cast of characters.
Oh, yeah. Like Mrs. Jellyby.
Mrs. Jelly.
So busy with her philanthropic endeavors in Africa that she completely neglects her own family.
A classic example of misplaced good intentions.
Right.
And a commentary on the often empty gestures of Victorian philanthropy.
Okay.
Dickens' satire is sharp here.
Yeah.
But he doesn't let us off the hook either.
Right.
He invites us to examine our own charitable impulses.
Yeah.
Asking, are we truly making a difference?
Right.
Or are we, like Mrs. Jellyby, simply distracted from the problems closer to home?
That's something for you to ponder as you delve deeper into the book.
Yeah.
Now, we can't forget to mention the illustrations by Fizz.
Oh, absolutely not.
It's not just text that Dickens uses to draw you in.
Those illustrations were vital to the novel's original impact.
Right.
Fizz, whose real name was Hablet Knight Brown, brought these characters to life for the Victorian reader, adding another layer to Dickens's social commentary.
Imagine encountering these vivid images as you waited for the next installment.
It's almost like a protographic novel in a way.
It is.
And at the heart of this world is Esther Summerson,
Esther.
the novel's main narrator.
Esther is such an intriguing character. You experience much of the story through her eyes.
Right.
But she's also deeply embedded in the plot itself.
Okay.
Her journey of self-discovery, starting with a difficult childhood and the search for her own identity, mirrors the novel's larger themes of social injustice and the search for truth.
Okay, that makes me want to hear more about Esther's narrative.
Yeah.
Especially how she navigates a world filled with characters like the detached and mysterious Mr. Tulkinghorn, pulling strings from behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Or the romantic and ill-fated Lady Deadlock.
Lady Deadlock.
Haunted by her past.
Before we jump into their stories,
okay,
let's circle back to something you mentioned earlier.
Okay.
The book's dedication.
Yeah.
Dickens dedicates Bleak House as a remembrance of our friendly union to my companions in the Guild of Literature and Art.
This detail piqued my curiosity.
Well, yeah.
What was this guild?
The Guild of Literature and Art was a fascinating group, co-founded by Dickens and other prominent artists and writers.
Right.
It was their way of supporting fellow creatives in need and promoting the arts. This dedication reveals Dickens saw himself as part of a larger movement for social change.
Right.
His social connections, his activism, it all fed into his writing.
So he was putting his money where his mouth was, so to speak.
He was.
Now I think it's time we get back to that fog-enshrouded London you mentioned earlier.
Okay.
The Court of Chancery is described as this gloomy, labyrinthine place where cases drag on for decades, sometimes even centuries.
Right.
Is Dickens exaggerating here, or was it truly that bad?
He might have heightened things for dramatic effect.
But the core truth is there.
Oh, okay.
Dickens paints a vivid picture of the court. Dark, cramped rooms.
Yeah.
Endless stacks of dusty documents.
Right.
An air of perpetual gloom.
Yeah.
It's a place where hope goes to die.
Yeah.
And remember, the preface you submitted highlights real-life cases that mirror the endless litigation of the fictional Jarndyce and Jarndyce case.
Speaking of which, there's a scene where Esther, Richard, and Ada visit the Court of Chancery for the first time and encounter a man named Gridley, whose case has been dragging on for decades.
Right.
It's the same Gridley mentioned in the preface, right?
That's right.
By connecting the fictional case with real-life examples, Dickens makes it clear that this isn't just a story.
No.
It's a reflection of a broken system.
Yeah.
Gridley's case has consumed his life, driven him to the brink of madness.
Right.
He represents the tragic reality of the court's endless delays.
Dickens is showing us how this system, instead of delivering justice, can actually destroy a person.
Absolutely.
And it all ties back to that opening image of the fog.
Yeah.
It's not just the physical fog of London, is it?
No.
It becomes this metaphor for the confusion, the obscurity of the legal process itself.
Exactly.
The fog seeps into the courtroom, clouding judgment, obscuring the truth, and trapping those who become entangled in its web.
Yeah.
Think about how that might feel to be lost in a system that seemed designed to defeat you.
Oh, it's got to be awful.
Now, you mentioned that each character embodies some aspect of the social fabric.
Yeah.
Are we meant to see them as individuals?
Oh.
Or are they more like symbols representing different parts of Victorian society?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And it gets to the heart of Dickens's genius.
Okay.
His characters are both individuals and symbols.
Okay.
Take Harold Skimpole, for example.
Okay.
He's charming, artistic, but utterly irresponsible. Always relying on the generosity of others.
He's a great example of how Dickens uses humor.
Yeah.
Even while making a serious point.
Right.
But what does Skimpole represent beyond just being a likable freeloader?
He embodies a certain moral decay that Dickens saw as undermining society, a sense of entitlement, a refusal to take responsibility, a manipulation of others for personal gain.
Yeah.
But he's not a villain.
Right.
He's human.
Okay.
We might even see a bit of ourselves in Skimpole.
Oh, yeah.
Those times when we've taken the easy way out.
Yeah.
Or relied a little too heavily on others.
You're making me think I need to reread Bleak House with fresh eyes.
You should.
Now, we can't end this section without talking about Esther Summerson.
Esther.
Who represents a very different side of humanity.
Esther is fascinating because she represents the moral compass within the novel's chaotic world. Despite a difficult upbringing, she remains kind, compassionate, and ultimately optimistic. It's almost as if she's a counterpoint to the bleakness that surrounds her.
And yet she's not just a goody two-shoes.
Right.
She has her own struggles.
Yeah.
Her own search for identity. Her difficult childhood, which we'll delve into more later, has shaped her. But it hasn't broken her.
Right.
She's constantly searching for her place in the world.
Yeah.
For her true identity. And for a sense of belonging.
Right.
And through her journey, you, the reader, are invited to embark on your own exploration of these universal themes.
Absolutely.
Sounds like we're just scratching the surface here.
Oh, we are.
I'm ready to dive deeper into Esther's world.
Yeah.
And unravel the mysteries that await us.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the world of Charles Dickens' Bleak House.
Bleak House.
We left off with Esther's intriguing journey and those hints of mystery surrounding Lady Dedlock.
Yeah.
I'm ready to uncover more secrets.
And secrets are Bleak House's specialty.
Oh, yeah.
Dickens reveals Lady Dedlock's past bit by bit, like a slow-burning fuse, leading to an explosion of truth.
Right.
It's a technique that keeps you, the reader, on the edge of your seat.
So remind us, what exactly is Lady Dedlock hiding? Why all this cloak and dagger stuff?
Before her marriage to the aristocratic Sir Leicester Dedlock, Lady Dedlock was known as Honoria Barbary.
Okay.
She fell deeply in love with a man named Captain Hawdon.
Hawdon, wait, doesn't that name come up earlier in the novel?
You're absolutely right. He's the law writer, Nemo,
okay,
who dies of an opium overdose in those early chapters. The one whose inquest Esther and Richard attend.
Hold on, you're telling me Nemo, the law writer, is Lady Dedlock's former lover?
You might be surprised to learn that Nemo, the law writer from earlier, is actually Lady Dedlock's former lover.
Wow.
This connection underscores Dickens' critique of social class, demonstrating how seemingly separate lives are intertwined within a system rife with inequality by hiding Hawdon's true identity. Dickens builds suspense and allows you to experience the revelation alongside Lady Dedlock.
So it's about more than just a shocking plot twist.
Yeah.
It's about highlighting the hidden connections between characters who seem worlds apart.
Precisely.
Yeah.
We see Lady Dedlock becoming increasingly agitated as she hears more details about Nemo, particularly when she sees his handwriting. Dickens doesn't explicitly tell you what she's feeling.
Right.
He lets you observe her reactions, her growing unease.
And Esther, who at this point has no idea about her own connection to Lady Dedlock, picks up on these subtle cues.
Exactly. Yeah. Esther is sharp observant.
Right.
And in a way, this makes her the perfect guide for you, the reader. She notices the changes in Lady Dedlock's demeanor that others miss. Hints that will eventually lead her and you to uncover the truth about her own parentage.
Okay, back to Lady Dedlock. How does she react when she realizes her former lover is dead?
Imagine being Lady Dedlock in this moment.
Right.
The news of Hawdon's death reawakens not just old love, but terror.
Right.
Victorian society was unforgiving, especially for women.
Right.
Exposure would mean social death.
Oh, yeah.
This is why her fear drives her to such extremes, showing us the immense pressure she lives under.
It sounds like she makes some questionable choices out of fear.
She does.
Yeah.
She enlists the help of her maid, Hortense,
to
learn more about Hawdon's death. Her goal is to ensure no one suspects her involvement.
And Hortense, she's not exactly the picture of level-headedness, is she?
No, she's volatile.
Yeah.
Easily driven by jealousy.
Yeah.
And ultimately quite dangerous.
Right.
Her loyalty to Lady Dedlock, though admirable,
yeah,
clouds her judgment and drives her to some pretty bad decisions.
I'm sensing those bad decisions lead to some serious trouble.
They do.
Yeah.
Hortense's actions ultimately lead to the murder of Mr. Tulkinghorn.
Right.
The lawyer who's been blackmailing Lady Dedlock with her secret.
This murder feels like a turning point in the story.
Yeah.
Like the fragile house of cards that is Bleak House is starting to collapse.
Right.
What do you think is Dickens making a point about the consequences of keeping secrets?
It's more than just about secrets.
Okay.
Through this act of violence, Dickens tears down the facade of Victorian society, revealing the simmering chaos beneath the surface of respectability and decorum.
Yeah.
You, as the reader, are forced to confront the idea that even in seemingly civilized settings, darkness can erupt.
Okay, so we've got a murder, a blackmailer, and a web of secrets.
Yeah.
What about Sir Leicester?
Sir Leicester.
He seems oblivious to his wife's inner turmoil.
Right.
Is Dickens using him to make a statement about how oblivious the upper class can be?
Sir Leicester is fascinating because he represents a certain type of blindness.
Okay.
He's devoted to Lady Dedlock, but his love is rooted in possession rather than true understanding.
Right.
He's always going on about the Dedlock name and the importance of lineage. Yeah.
Seeing Lady Dedlock as an extension of his own social status.
So he can't even fathom that she might have secrets of her own.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Let alone a past that threatens his precious lineage.
Exactly.
He's completely incapable of comprehending the depth of her feelings.
Right.
Or the complexities of her past.
That makes his reaction when he eventually learns the truth, even more intriguing.
Yeah.
I won't ask for spoilers, but I'm guessing it's pretty dramatic.
Let's just say that Sir Leicester's world is shattered by the revelation.
Wow.
Dickens uses his reaction to explore the themes of betrayal, forgiveness, and the fragility of human relationships.
Okay. I'm hooked.
Good.
But before I race ahead to find out what happens, you mentioned earlier that we should pay attention to the symbolism in Bleak House.
Oh, right.
We've talked about the fog. Yeah. But what else should we be looking out for?
Think about the mud.
Mud.
London's mud is a constant presence in the novel.
Okay.
And it's not just about the setting.
Dickens uses mud to represent the moral and social corruption he saw as plaguing Victorian society.
Like the mud is a stain that can't be easily washed away.
Exactly.
Right.
We see this with Joe, the homeless boy who's constantly being moved on, forced to keep moving because he's seen as a blight on the landscape.
Right.
He's literally covered in the mud of the city.
Yeah.
But he also represents those who are ignored, those who are forced to live in the filth of society's neglect.
There's also that awful slum Tom All Alone's, which Dickens describes as a breeding ground for disease and crime.
Tom All Alone's is a powerful symbol of urban decay.
Right.
But it also asks the question, who is responsible for this neglect?
Right.
Is it simply the fault of the poor?
Yeah.
Or does it point to a larger systemic failure?
Right.
Dickens wants you, the reader, to confront the uncomfortable reality of poverty in Victorian London.
And then there's Bleak House itself, the name of the novel, and the estate where much of the action takes place.
Right.
It's not exactly a cheerful name.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
The title sets the tone, evoking a sense of gloom and despair. But Bleak House, the house itself, is interesting.
Yeah.
It's filled with odd nooks and crannies, dusty relics of the past, and a pervasive sense of melancholy.
Yeah.
It becomes a symbol of the past's enduring grip on the present.
Right.
But it also reflects Mr. Jarndyce's own attempts to create a haven within a chaotic world.
You're making me think about those houses we all carry within us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The places where our pasts and presents collide.
And Bleak House, both the novel and the house itself, becomes a space where Dickens invites you to confront the complexities of your own personal and social history.
Right.
We've talked a lot about the darker aspects of the novel.
Yeah.
The murder, the secrets, the social critique. But what about love?
Love.
Bleak House is full of love stories, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
Dickens gives us a whole spectrum of love stories, each illuminating different challenges and complexities of human connection.
Okay.
Think about Ada and Richard.
Okay.
Their youthful love blossoming amidst the gloom of the Chancery world.
They seem to represent a kind of naive hopefulness.
They do,
Yeah.
But it's a hopefulness that's constantly tested. Richard gets so caught up in pursuing his inheritance, that elusive fortune tied to the Jarndyce and Jarndyce case, that he neglects his studies, makes poor financial decisions, and ultimately jeopardizes his health and his relationship with Ada.
It sounds like a warning against letting ambition consume you.
It is.
Yeah.
It's about the danger of chasing after empty promises.
Okay.
And the importance of prioritizing what truly matters.
And then there's Esther's love story, which feels quieter, more about duty and self-sacrifice.
Esther's love story is less about grand passion.
Right?
And more about quiet devotion.
Yeah.
She's constantly putting the needs of others before her own, even when it means sacrificing her own happiness.
Which makes the choice she eventually have to make even more difficult.
It does.
Yeah.
She has two men who love her.
Right.
The kind and steady Dr. Woodcourt.
Yeah.
And the ambitious and somewhat reckless Alan Woodcourt.
Okay.
Who embodies the qualities she truly needs.
Right. It's a tough question.
It is.
Yeah.
Through these two men, Dickens explores the question of compatibility.
Okay.
Is it about shared values and stability?
Right.
Or is it about passion and excitement?
Right. A question that resonates across time.
It does.
And Dickens doesn't offer easy answers.
No.
He invites you, the reader, to consider what truly matters in a relationship.
Exactly.
And of course, we can't forget the most tragic love story of all.
Right.
Lady Deadlock's.
Lady Deadlock's story is one of lost love, societal constraints, and the haunting power of the past.
Yeah.
She's trapped in a loveless marriage to Sir Leicester. Her heart's still aching for a love that society deemed unacceptable.
And that past love has come back to haunt her in a way she never could have imagined.
Yes, the revelation of her secret and the consequences that follow show the high price she pays for a love that defied social norms.
It's heartbreaking, but it also asks a question.
Right.
Are the rules of society always just...
That's the question.
So many questions, and we're not even done yet.
I know.
What else should we be keeping in mind as we head into the final part of Bleak House?
As you continue reading,
okay,
pay attention to the recurring image of caged birds.
Caged birds.
Dickens uses this imagery to represent the various forms of confinement that his characters experience.
So it's not just literal cages, but metaphorical ones as well.
Exactly. Think about Miss Flight.
Right.
The eccentric old woman who frequents the Court of Chancery with her cage of birds.
Right.
She believes that once the Jarndyce and Jarndyce case is finally resolved, she'll be able to set her birds free.
But of course the case never ends. And her birds, like so many of the characters in Bleak House, remain trapped.
It's a powerful image.
Yeah.
And it asks you to consider what cages, both literal and metaphorical, might be holding you back.
Right.
What freedoms are you yearning for?
Okay, I'm feeling inspired to break free from some of my own cages.
Good.
I think I'm ready to tackle the final part of Bleak House.
Then let's dive in.
Okay.
There's still much to uncover, and I have a feeling Dickens has a few more surprises in store for us.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the world of Charles Dickens' Bleak House.
Bleak House.
We've uncovered a lot of secrets.
We have.
Met some unforgettable characters and explored the murky depths of the Court of Chancery.
Right.
Now I'm ready for some resolution.
Resolution.
What happens to Lady Dedlock Esther?
Oh, yeah.
And everyone caught in this web of mystery.
Well, we left off with some pretty big revelations.
Yeah.
Particularly about Esther's parentage.
Right.
You'll recall that Lady Dedlock, trapped by societal expectations, struggles to reconcile her love for her daughter with the fear of social ruin.
Right.
And all the while, Mr. Tulkinghorn,
the
embodiment of legal ruthlessness, looms over her, threatening to expose her secret.
It's like a ticking time bomb.
It is.
You can practically feel the tension building as the story progresses.
Yeah, you can.
I know Dickens loved a good dramatic climax.
Oh, he did.
So what becomes of Lady Dedlock?
Lady Dedlock's journey takes a heartbreaking turn.
Okay.
Desperate to escape the clutches of Tulkinghorn and find some semblance of peace. She embarks on a solitary journey that tests her limits both physically and emotionally.
It sounds like Dickens is putting her through the ringer.
Yeah.
Is this punishment for her past? Or is he trying to show us something else?
Think about the pressure she's under.
Okay.
Not only from Tulkinghorn, but from the very structure of Victorian society. Lady Dedlock's story isn't just about individual choices. It's about the weight of social expectation, especially for women. Her fate, tragic as it is, highlights the immense cost of living a lie in a world obsessed with appearances.
That makes her story even more poignant.
Yeah.
Now, what about Esther?
Esther.
How does she handle the truth about her mother, and how does it affect her relationships with Richard and Ada?
Discovering Lady Dedlock is her mother forces Esther to confront some difficult questions about her own identity and place in the world. Remember, she's always strived to be good, to meet the expectations of those around her.
So to find out she's the product of a secret affair must be a real blow.
Oh, it shakes her to her core.
Yeah.
But it's also a catalyst for growth.
Okay.
She has to decide who she is on her own terms. Not based on the circumstances of her birth or the expectations of society.
And what about Richard and Ada?
Richard and Ada.
Do they ever find out about Esther's true parentage?
Esther, always putting others first, initially hesitates to reveal the truth, fearing it will hurt them.
Yeah.
But eventually the truth comes out. And their reaction speaks volumes about their characters.
Okay.
They embrace Esther without judgment, their love and loyalty unshaken.
That's the kind of unconditional love we all crave, isn't it?
It is. It's a testament to the power of human connection. To transcend even the most shocking revelations.
And it reminds us that family isn't just about blood ties. It's about the bonds we choose to create and nurture.
That's right.
Now, I'm curious about Mr. Jarndyce.
Mr. Jarndyce.
Throughout the novel, he's been a source of kindness and generosity, trying to shield Richard and Ada from the worst of the Chancery world. But are his good intentions enough?
That's a really perceptive question.
Yeah.
Mr. Jarndyce is a complex character.
Okay.
He represents the best of humanity.
Yeah.
But even his compassion can't fully protect those he cares about. from the harsh realities of the world.
His attempts to shield Richard from the Chancery seem to backfire.
Yeah, they do.
Is Dickens suggesting that even good intentions can be harmful?
Well,
especially within a flawed system?
I think you're onto something there.
Yeah.
Jarndyce's kindness might inadvertently enable Richard's destructive obsession with the lawsuit.
Yeah.
It's a subtle but important point Dickens is making. Sometimes, even the most well-meaning actions can have unintended consequences.
It makes you wonder if there's a limit to what one person can do, even with the best intentions.
That's true.
Now, we can't forget about the murder mystery at the heart of the novel.
The murder mystery.
Mr. Bucket, the detective, is on the case.
Right.
Trying to untangle a web of suspects and motives.
Yeah.
Where does his investigation lead?
As Mr. Bucket meticulously pieces together the puzzle, he discovers a network of connections that link seemingly disparate characters and events.
It sounds like he's getting closer to the truth.
He is.
But also uncovering even more secrets along the way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the deeper he digs, the more he reveals about the hidden undercurrents of Victorian society.
Right.
The corruption, the hypocrisy, the simmering resentments that threaten to erupt into violence.
It's like he's peeling back the layers of an onion.
It is.
And with each layer, the stench gets stronger.
That's a great analogy.
Now I have to ask, does Mr. Bucket actually solve the case?
Well,
does justice prevail?
Let's just say that the fog in those opening chapters gradually dissipates, revealing the culprit and their motives.
Okay.
Dickens doesn't shy away from showing the consequences of actions, both good and bad.
That's what makes his story so compelling.
Yeah.
He doesn't offer easy answers or fairy tale endings, but he does offer a sense of hope.
Right.
Even amidst the bleakness.
Precisely.
And as the novel reaches its conclusion, we see characters finding resolution, not always in the ways they expected, but in ways that highlight their growth and resilience.
Exactly.
And what about Esther?
Esther.
Does she find happiness?
Esther's story is perhaps the most hopeful of all.
Okay.
She makes a choice that reflects her own values and desires, not those imposed by society.
Right.
And in doing so, she finds love, purpose, and a sense of belonging that transcends the limitations of her birth or social standing.
It's a reminder that true happiness isn't about external factors. It's about finding peace and fulfillment within ourselves and our chosen relationships.
Exactly.
We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
Yeah, we have.
We've explored themes of justice, social inequality, the power of secrets, the complexities of love, and the possibility of redemption.
Right.
What do you think is the most important takeaway for our listener as they finish reading Bleak House?
I think Dickens, through this sprawling, messy, and brilliant novel, is asking us to look closer at the world around us, to question the systems we take for granted, to challenge injustice wherever we find it, and most importantly, to never give up hope even in the face of bleakness.
Beautifully said.
Thank you.
And on that note, I want to thank you, dear listener, for joining us on this deep dive into the world of Bleak House.
Yes. Thank you.
We hope you've gained a new appreciation for Dickens' genius and found some insights that resonate with your own life.
That's right.
Until next time, happy reading.
Happy reading.